This, boys and girls, is the Camping Nolo record Pista crank set. That's right, for one gear bikes. Behold Excalibur. Alright, welcome back to another episode of the Maverick Cyclist and our feature, One Gear Nation. Now when you're talking about building or riding a one gear bike, the most important thing you're going to want to worry about right away is gear ratio. Why is gear ratio important? The front sprocket to the rear cog? Because that's what determines how hard it is to pedal your bike, how easy it is to go up and down hills, whether it's geared for flats or more hilly terrain, etc. It's a pretty easy process for which you can establish your front to rear ratio. Now choosing sprocket and cog, you can use a variety of things. It depends on what kind of bike you have or are building, where you got the components from, what your budget's like. You can spend all kinds of money or basically nothing. This, for example, is a used old multi-front sprocket Camping Nolo crank set from a 1970s camping bike. Now, the reason it's separated is because I took out the inner ring, because you only have one on a one gear bike. One on the front, one on the back, just one. But you can also buy components somewhat easily and cheaply that are pre-built, pre-made, specifically for the purpose of building a one gear bike. You may also, if you're building something special, like I did recently, find and source a really nice track crank from Camping Nolo or something, like I put on my moots, like you see here. I know, right? A rainbow should shoot out every time you open it. Hey folks, remember, if you want to help us share more bike love, then you got to smash that like button, because YouTube's algorithm only seems to share things when you do. So hit the like button, and while you're at it, subscribe and hit notifications so you can know when we share more bike love with you. You've got your front crank, whether it came off the old bike you're converting, whether it was purpose bought and built, or whether you're converting a crank on another frame, that's fine. And you have the rear cog. And you'll notice here, these come in a different variety of teeth sizes, and that is what determines your ratio. The front tooth size to the back tooth size. Pretty simple. So generally, as you can see in the chart here, there are standard ratios that you utilize. The most average ratio that's recommended is 2.75. So that means the number of teeth in your rear cog can be divided into the number of teeth in your front cog approximately 2.75 times. So as you saw in the chart, when you're looking at a 46, you have one tooth size rear, and when you're looking at a 53, you have another tooth size in the rear to keep that ratio the same. It's pretty basic math. You can go down to 2.5 to make it easier, or up to 3 to make it harder. So if you have a rear cog that mathematically, let's say 15 teeth, goes into the front cog 45 teeth, exactly 3 times, that's your 3 ratio, right? Pretty simple. If you live in a flat area, 3 is okay, because there's not going to be a lot of uphill. If you commute and you're in a reasonably flat area and you don't have a lot of stops and starts, then that works too. Fucking dog. God damn, I gotta get your nails cut. Okay. So, if you live in a more hilly area, you're going to want a 2.5. just follow the chart I provided, which I'll link in the description below, and you can have access to for when you want to build your gearing. With a 2.75, which I ride on a bunch of my fixed gears, that gives you the ability to do the rolling hills. It gets you moving on the flats. It does limit you on the downhills, but it also makes starting from a red light easier. With a 3, the hills would be a little harder, the downhills would be way better, and the start from a stoplight or a stop sign would also be more difficult. So these are things you just want to think about. If you're new to bicycles, as I talked about in a previous episode, if you haven't been back in a long time as an adult, or if you're new to bicycles as an adult, starting out with a 1 gear is a great option. You also, when you choose your 1 gear, want to get as close to 2.75 as possible. Maybe even 2.5, depending on your health conditions and how you feel. Because that'll make things easy for you to get used to the rhythm, the cadence, pedaling, etc. Practice all your signals, as we talk about in the No Tools campaign portion of the Maverick Cyclist. And it basically just makes things easier to pedal while you're getting better. Now, when you're looking at how to figure out the ratio, a lot of your cogs will come with a number right on them. This one, 16 teeth, very simple. This one does not come with a number on it, but yeah, you can keep this easy, right? Let's line up the first one right here where this hole is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 teeth. That's easy, right? Simple. So you might notice some differences between these two, outside of the obvious being that they have 16 teeth and 18 teeth respectively. You'll notice this one right here has little nubs on the inside. That is so that it aligns with the hub and stays tight, so when the hub turns on your rear wheel, the gear turns, the cog turns. And that is most often designed for a Shimano rear hub. I can't tell you how hard it was to source Campagnolo single-speed stuff to put together my Moots bike, which you've seen in other videos. Pain in the ass. Apparently nobody does this but me. Nobody's dumb enough to or whatever. But you'll find in general that it's a lot easier to find Shimano rear wheels and Shimano adapting single-speed cogs to go on those wheels than Campagnolo. Now this one right here, you can see has actual threads on the inside of it. Now this is purpose-built for a fixed gear rear hub. And that screws this cog in so that it stays steady, and usually comes with a lock ring that sits over it as well on the outside of the hub, and allows the gear to stay tight when the wheel's turning, just like this one, but without having to fit to a standard Shimano rear hub. The difference between the two is simple. This one's purpose-built for building a single-speed bike with single-speed wheels. And this one is essentially purpose-built to use a regular wheel set converted for single-speed use. Either way, you achieve the same result. You get the 1 gear and you're off to the races. Now, there's nothing that prevents you from changing this ratio when you want to. If you start out with a 2.5 and you move to a 2.75 later, once you feel a little healthier, a little more used to the bike, things become easier, or maybe even a 3.0, that's fine. You can do it by simply changing the rear cog so that it matches the teeth in the front on a 3:1 ratio or 2.75. That's not a problem. You can totally do that. Things you want to look out for if you do that, depending on what frame your bike is built on. If it's a track frame where the rear stays go in horizontally, that makes adjusting the chain tension around the larger cog easier. Now, if you ride a more standard frame set, not a track frame set, maybe from a conversion like I have done and ride many bikes like that, stays go in horizontally, And that makes it more difficult to align the rear wheel back and forth to change chain tension if you switch cogs. It's just something to consider. It doesn't make it impossible. In some cases, if you go to a bigger cog, you may run out of room to move that wheel in a more traditional frame set, and you may have to put a larger chain on. That's okay. That's doable. If you have a little flexibility, however, in either the chain or if you're using a track frame set, then you can make this change pretty easily. But the ratio, typically, best ratio that's recommended is 2.75 to 1. That's the number of teeth in this cog in the rear, on the rear wheel, will be divided into the number of teeth in your crank 2.75 times. The smaller that ratio, or the smaller the number in the front of that ratio, 2.5, the easier it is to pedal. The larger the number, 3.0, the harder it is to pedal. Very basic math, very simple to remember. And again, I'll link that chart in the description below. So that's it. Now you can start deciding what you want to do about your one-gear bike, how you want to build it, and what ratio you want to use to ride. Remember, on the One Gear Nation feature here at the Maverick Cyclist, we have one gear. Go.
Consider supporting the channel by becoming a Patreon so we can share more bike love worldwide. If you do, you'll be automatically entered in periodic raffles of bicycles from my collection.
And don't forget to pick up your swag from this episode or any of our episodes at the Maverick Store.